Imagine an investment that pays you more every time somebody dies. Not a stranger, not in theory. The other people who bought in with you, you know their names, you've met them, and every funeral makes you richer. This was a real financial product, legal, popular. For 200 years, governments sold it. Your grandfather might have owned one. It was called a tontine, and it worked exactly like it sounds. Here's how it went. A group of people each put money into a shared pot. The government took that money and used it. In return, it paid out interest every year, forever. But not to the group, to the survivors. That's the twist. When one investor died, their share didn't go to their family. It got divided among everyone still breathing. So the payments got bigger, year after year, and smaller in number. 10 people, then 8, then 5. The last one alive collected everything. Sit with that for a second. You are in a financial arrangement where the death of the person across the street is a raise. The man behind it was named Lorenzo de Tonti. He wasn't French, he was Italian from Naples. And he wasn't a barber, whatever you may have read. He was a banker and a schemer and a political exile. In 1653, he showed up in Paris with a pitch. France was broke. It was always broke. Wars, palaces, a young king with expensive taste. Tonti went to Cardinal Mazarin with an idea. People hate lending money to the government, he said. But people love a gamble. So make the loan a gamble. Tell them the survivors win. Watch them line up. Mazarin liked it. The French Parliament didn't. They said no. And Tonti's great idea sat in a drawer. Here's what happened to him. He got tangled in a financial scandal, and the king threw him in the Bastille. He spent years in a cell. He died around 1684, forgotten, with nothing. 5 years after he died, France finally issued its first tontine. It worked beautifully. The money poured in. Everyone wanted a seat at the table. Then England tried it in 1693 to pay for a war it couldn't afford. Then Holland, then Denmark, then Ireland. For a while, tontines were how the West financed itself. Cathedrals, bridges, armies, all of it, funded by people quietly hoping their neighbors went first. Now here's where it gets ugly. Think about what this system rewards. It rewards outliving, which means it rewards helping people not outlive. Historians debate how often it actually happened, but the incentive was sitting right there, in the paperwork. There are cases, suspicions, investigations, enough that novelists built murder plots on it, because the plot writes itself. And there was another problem, less dramatic, but bigger: fraud. To keep collecting, you needed the person to be alive, or you needed everyone to believe they were. Deaths went unreported. Names stayed on lists. Children were nominated instead of adults, because children live longer and the payout lasts longer. Some tontines dragged on for a century. The last survivor of one French tontine was a woman who reportedly collected a fortune from a pot that had been paying out for decades. Everyone else was gone. Then tontines crossed the Atlantic and exploded. In America, insurance companies sold them hard. By the late 1800s, they were everywhere. By some estimates, around half of all life insurance policies in the United States had a tontine feature built in. Half. Millions of ordinary families holding a piece of paper that paid out based on who died first. And then it fell apart. In 1905, New York ran an investigation into how the insurance industry actually worked. It was called the Armstrong investigation. What they found wasn't murder. It was worse, in a boring way. The companies were sitting on enormous piles of tontine money, money that belonged to policyholders, and using it however they liked. Executive salaries, political donations, lavish everything. The whole thing was a slush fund with a morbid marketing hook. New York banned tontines. Other states followed, and in a few years, a product that had funded empires was gone. So what's left of it? More than you'd think. Look at a pension. Look at an annuity. You pay in. If you die early, you lose. If you live long, you win, and part of what you win comes from the people who died early. The mechanism never disappeared. We just stopped saying the quiet part out loud. Some economists now argue Tontine should come back. Openly, regulated, they say it's a rational way to fund old age, because the risk is shared honestly, instead of hidden inside an insurance contract. Maybe they're right, but it's a strange kind of honesty. Lorenzo de Tonti died broke in a French prison, never seeing a franc from the idea that outlived him by centuries. He understood something uncomfortable about people, that we'll take a bad bet if it's dressed as a good one, and that we can be persuaded to root against each other. Buy a piece of paper. He was right. That's the part that should bother you. If this one held your attention, there's a whole channel of stories like it. I'll see you in the next one.